morning and welcome to the NBA Daily. I'm Dave DuFour here with Zena Keita. Coming up, Giannis hit a game winner off to a crazy start in Milwaukee. Myles Turner not happy about the reception in Indiana. The Clippers, maybe some more trouble. And we got Keith Parish to talk about the Grizzlies and if it's time to move on from Ja Morant. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Zena.
Top of the morning
to you.
It's going well.
Yeah, doing pretty well. Pretty big night in the NBA. We had what has turned into the biggest rivalry in the NBA, the Milwaukee Bucks and Indiana Pacers, game one of the season. And somehow, Zena, it does not matter how many players the Pacers have available, if they have any healthy point guards, if they're if they lose their starting center for the last decade to the Milwaukee Bucks, they are going to put up a fight and it is going to be a crazy game. We got another crazy game. Came down to Giannis turnaround, fade away from the free throw line that he just yelled Kobe in his head on. They win it on Giannis's second career game winner. Zena.
Wow, I didn't even know that. That's cool.
Bucks Pacers fun.
It is a lot of fun. And I think that I looked up how much they've actually played up against each other and how much they've performed. And I think that historically, yes, the Bucks have won this in the regular season pretty much outright. They're now 119-87 over the Pacers. But where it's been fun and why we have this recency bias over it is because despite this regular season dominion over the Pacers have been 14-5 over the Bucks in the playoffs, particularly canceling the dreams of the Bucks these last 2 years in the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. This is where we've seen the rivalry really build. This is where we've seen the tussles. This is where we've seen Tyrese Halliburton making a joke of the Milwaukee Bucks' clutch defense. It's just been so much fun watching them come up against each other, battle against each other. And every single time it feels as if there's so much more on the line than whatever the game might be. Yes, the playoffs matter, but it always feels like we're not talking about the first round. It feels always like an Eastern Conference Finals when these two come up against each other.
Yeah, and look, the Pacers are 1-6. They are better than that record, and I think that when you watch them in a game against the Bucks, who have been surprisingly good, you remember, oh yeah, that's right, Pascal Siakam's still out there. He put up 32. I want to dig into Giannis just a little bit. His start to the season, pretty incredible. This is, again, he hits the game winner here. He puts up another 33 points, has 13 rebounds, 5 assists, couple steals to start the season. Zena averaging a career high in points. Okay. This is actually the most he's ever averaged through the first 6 games of the season in his career, including his 2 MVP seasons. He's pretty close to his career high in rebounds. He's averaging a career high in assists. We might be seeing peak Giannis, which is kind of how we all felt coming into this year. If Giannis was going to be MVP level Giannis, the Bucks were going to have a chance, but that was the only way. And he's been amazing so far.
I'm so happy you said peak Giannis because we're really, technically speaking, if we're just looking at stats, we're actually seeing the peak performance of any NBA player of all time. There's a particular stat, the PER stat. I'm not a huge fan of the PER because it does jumble
Shout out to John Hollinger.
Yes, John Hollinger. I don't like to completely assess folks by the PER rate, but it basically assesses what a guy does on every possession on the floor, right? And it put it all together. Right now, Giannis is averaging 35 in a PER, excuse me. Dave, I want you to guess what the highest number that LeBron has ever hit. The all-time scoring leader. What's the highest number he's ever hit in his career?
32? I don't know.
31. What's the highest that Michael Jordan has ever hit?
33.
31. What's the highest that Nikola Jokic has ever hit?
I'm going to guess 33 every single time.
32.
We're going Scottie Pippen all the way.
32. And Wilt Chamberlain has also been in that category of 31. Okay.
Yeah.
This is better than all of those guys in their peak years, what Giannis is putting up. Not only is he the fastest player to ever reach 200 points, 75 rebounds, and 35 assists, he has the most 30-point games in NBA history since 2014. That's including the LeBrons of the world, the Stephs of the world, James Hardens of the world, all the people that you can imagine should be scoring leaders while this guy has been playing. Yeah, he's putting up ridiculous numbers, and he is completely transforming what the Milwaukee Bucks are doing from an offensive perspective as well. He is the ultimate boon. He disrupts mismatches. He leads breaks, lives at the rim. Of those 34 points you mentioned, Dave, 23 of them are in the paint. High efficiency numbers.
Wow. He also career high in offensive rebounds right now, which is very telling to where the game is going, by the way, where it's gone in his career, but also because Doc Rivers is his coach and Doc is anti-offensive rebounds. So maybe Doc also coming around a little bit, but Doc's got bigs now, right? I mean, he's got some mobile guys who can rebound and who can get back. And he's got one in Myles Turner who can shoot threes. Myles Turner, obviously, we all remember Myles Turner, great Indiana Pacer, was just there for that 7-game series against the Thunder where they had their hearts broken. And he left to go to Milwaukee as a free agent during the summer. And Zena, he was booed in Indiana during the tribute video. I mean,
yikes.
During the tribute video, they booed the entire time. And I feel like the Bucks kind of took it personally. Giannis, obviously, at the end of the game, when he hit the game winner, hit him with the double thumbs down toward the fans. I mean, you know, I understand this. And Myles Turner on Twitter, I'm going to read what he put out on Twitter after the game. 10 years of blood, sweat, sacrifice, and constantly taking the disdain on the chin. I guess growth isn't always applauded. Sometimes it's booed, but I'm still grateful, still rising. And then he hit the hashtag fear the deer. Just so you know, like, let me rub this in. Well, I'm a Buck now, and I guess this is part of the territory. Yeah, the rivalry grows.
And I don't mind Myles Turner calling it out, because at the end of the day, he did not get the deal that he was expecting for the level of loyalty he had to the Indiana Pacers. However the fans want to feel about that, let's just be real. In your private lives, folks, if you've put in work, 10 years of work, dedicated work to an organization, and when the time comes to pay up, they're kind of like, we can't afford you, or we don't want to spend that money on you, or we're going to limit the amount. And there's another company that's willing to give you the years you want and the number you want. You would take that in your personal life. So I'll never blame him for that. I thought it was very tacky for Indiana to boo him. Feel however you want to feel, but like, he did what was best for him and his family, and you guys would have done that too. What I do love is how much Milwaukee has embraced him. Giannis was asked about this after the game, and he asked, how soon did you kind of bring in Myles Turner into the fold? He said immediately, automatically, we embraced him. And I'm happy that Myles landed in a place where he feels valued and he can showcase what he's capable of in terms of being a shooting big alongside of Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, look, it's tough to pay your centers when the mall business is down, right? I mean, that's kind of the issue for the Pacers. But also, here's my thing about booing. I actually think it's good to boo a player if he leaves because he's now on a different team. As far as the tribute video, that is crazy. That's nuts. Okay,
that's not,
booing him during the tribute video.
I agree.
Man, that's nuts.
That's a good clarity.
Pacers fans, you guys are hardcore. I appreciate that you're super into it, but that guy was there for a long time. Anyway, it is what it is. Guys, maybe not there for a long time. We're going to talk about Ja Morant after the break. We got Keith Parish from Grits and Grinds on just to dig into it. The Memphis Grizzlies had an awkward ending to last season, firing their coach, right before the playoffs. They were the 2 seed at one point in the middle of last year. And then, I don't know, the bottom fell out. And it has not started out much better this year. They lose a game to the pretty good Detroit Pistons to drop to 3-5. My good buddy, Keith Parish, the host of Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast, also Fast Break Breakfast, is here to talk about his Grizzlies Keith, I know you really like this Pistons team. So how did it feel to watch them like kind of manhandle the Grizzlies for most of the game until that comeback at the end?
I'll say I did not enjoy being manhandled by the Pistons as a Grizzlies fan. There was a moment there where my guy Vince Williams Jr. shoved Asar Thompson, and I'm like, beef stew is right there, buddy. And then I started thinking, if a fight broke out, who are the best fighters on the Grizzlies currently? And I'm I think Jalen Duren might fold Jaren Jackson Jr. in half. And I was just like, I don't think the Grizzlies could beat the Pistons in a fight. And then I'm texting with a good buddy, and we're trying to list the teams the Grizzlies could beat in a fight. So that's how the night went for me, Dave.
All right, so Zena, the Grizzlies, can they trade for Steven Adams?
Well, yeah, we don't have Steven Adams anymore to pick up a guy to Tony Bradley him across the court. I'm like, who's that guy on the Grizzlies now? Like Cam Spencer's like, he's a little off his rocker. He's like the Michael Keaton
the Spencer
Batman.
Brothers are a little different.
He's the you want to get nuts type moment, but also like you come to a point where you're fighting people bigger than you, where that only takes you to a certain point.
That's true.
Again, I wasn't sure how an all-out brawl. I know this is not what Adam Silver wants us to talk about, but I was wondering if an all-out brawl broke out, how would the Grizzlies do? And I was pretty sure it wouldn't go well against the Pistons.
Yeah, all things being equal, the big guy probably going to win. All right, Keith, speaking of, the Pistons were the bigger guy. Last night. They're just a better team. Cade Cunningham is awesome, and he looked great. The Grizzlies defense just had nothing for him. But I want to start with the offense for the Grizzlies, because that's been the source of contention since Thomas Izolo kind of took over last year, like running the offense. And obviously, we talked about this a lot over the summer. And to open the season, it seems like Ja Morant at least isn't happy with his role, being suspended for a game for conduct detrimental to the team. He's back in the game last night. I mean, he was okay, but he doesn't do very much out there. So, Keith, like, what have you seen out of the offense? Like, what is going on? They just don't look like they're doing much of anything.
Well, I was going to accuse you of burying the lead. You did finally get around to the fact that Ja Morant had been suspended over the weekend, a little bit awkward.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there.
This game. No, so the big thing with the Grizzlies, and there's a lot to talk about with this team because there has been a lot going on. Like you said, last year was strange. They fell off a cliff, and like the defense fell off a cliff last year. And this year, in the offseason, you traded Desmond Bane, and people are like, well, what are y'all doing? And now this year starts and there's this injury issue. And so all of that, it's not just a single thing. And then you combine that with the Ja Morant suspension, him coming back, and you run into like the Pistons, who were pretty good, and Cade Cunningham, who took over the game in the fourth quarter. And it boils down to, yes, the offense has not been good for the Grizzlies. For me, it boils down to talent, flat out. They're missing so many guys. They're just missing Zach Eady and Scottie Pippen Jr. and Ty Jerome. And then you could talk about Ja Morant, which is its own conversation. I think a lot of the conversation about Ja boils down to, you look at a guy like Cade Cunningham, and I think as a Grizzlies reporter or a Grizzlies fan, you come to the realization that guy's better than our guy. And you start going through the teams in the league, and it used to be 2 years ago, you thought Ja Morant was better than everybody but a handful of guys. Now you start listing off people and you're like, wait a minute. The Pistons were horrible 2 years ago. Now they have a guy better than our guy. And so as a team, I don't know what you do there. And that leads to the entire Ja Morant conversation, where the question was, is this team good enough with Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond Bane, and then an assortment of other pieces, a strong supporting cast? When you start stripping away the supporting cast, and then you start losing one of those pieces, the main pieces, and then also now you have tons of injuries with the team you wanted to assemble for this year, and you're like, Ja Morant and Jaren go beat a healthy Pistons squad. I know, Dave, your guy Tobias Harris was inactive. I need to.
Yeah, he was out. So,
but
shorthanded
still,
Pistons.
I think a lot of it where you're like, hey, the offense isn't working. You lost to the Raptors without Ja Morant. It's like, well, yeah. I mean, did you see the guys on the court? Like, there's a lot of promising young players on the court, but it boils down to talent for me, where it's saying, I don't know how to judge Thomas Izolo. He thought he was going to have Zach Eady setting screens and rebounding, and he doesn't have that. And now, as a Grizzlies fan, you get to the point where you're like, Yeah, we got Charles Bassey. When you're high-fiving over Charles Bassey, your offense isn't very good. I think that's a pretty safe statement. Like Bassey played his first game for the Pistons, for the Grizzlies this season. And again, the Grizzlies fan group chats, we're all like, this guy looks pretty sharp. Like we need to get him more minutes. When you're in the get your emergency signing replacement more minutes spot, it's not a great place to be in.
I feel like we're having a second Willie Green-like conversation right now and transitioning it now to Tumas Isalo. But I'm happy you brought up the Ja thing, because when you're talking about, is Ja our guy versus, Kay Cunningham being that guy. And we saw what Kay Cunningham did, 19 points in that fourth quarter. It was unreal, the takeover that he had. But we also can't sleep on the fact that even with a Ja Morant not running as fast as we know he is possible, he's capable of, or not being as active off ball as we know he's been capable to be, he had 10 assists. He had a dunk, in transition where he's exploding above the rim. He's still himself. And so I think a lot of the question around Ja is, it's still there. He's still capable of being someone's guy. I think it's a matter of, do you want to be this team's guy? How would you evaluate the lack of effort, or is it a lack of effort, or is it actually a shift in his ability?
That is where the rubber meets the road for this discussion. They were complimenting him on the broadcast. I was watching the local FanDuel broadcast, and they were like, the energy for Ja is here. The first half, I think 12.6 assists. He finishes with those 10 assists. I still didn't feel like Ja Morant was taking over. He's not blowing by guys to get to the rim. There was a play in the first half where he did, and it was notable. But it used to be this guy scored more points in the paint than Giannis. Like that is what Ja used to do.
Crazy.
Ja. So now it's like, oh yeah, he got to the rim and he made a shot. That was good. And he caught an alley-oop on a fast break. That's good. But that used to be the staple. That used to be the steady diet of this is what he did 7-8 times a game. And now the question is it roster? Is it if Asar Thompson and Cade Cunningham and Ron Holland can all load up on Ja, and Isaiah Stewart, who was, Cade Cunningham was amazing, MVP probably, but 26 points, 14 rebounds, and 4 blocks. What in the world from Isaiah Stewart? But this is a thing. I think Jaren has dealt with this. And Jaren, I think, has escaped a little bit of criticism early in the year for the Grizzlies because of Ja Morant making the headlines by essentially quitting on his team against the Lakers. But part of me goes back to it's just talent on your roster. If the third, fourth, and fifth guys on the court with Ja and Jaren do not scare the defense, well, guess what? They're going to double team. They're going to send all their attention. They're going to say Jalen Wells beat us. And Jalen Wells is not going to beat you. And he's specifically going through a little bit of a slump right now. But if KCP and Jalen Wells are the other guys out there, they're probably not going to beat you. Now,
they just don't have any spacing. They have no spacing at all.
Because no one cares about the other players on the court. Yeah.
Yeah.
When Jaren Jackson has to be the one to shoot three, from the shoot your threes, that's a problem.
He's got to shoot threes and he's got to go score at the basket, right? This has been a problem for them for a while. And we'll get to Cedric Coward in a second, but I want to circle back to Ja. Again, being suspended, this is not, I know I glossed over it in the open because I wanted to get to the game, but to be suspended for conduct detrimental to the team, you have a coach in Isolo who has, I think his idea of how you coach is to call guys out in front of the team and say, hey, you're messing up. You're keeping us from winning. It doesn't seem like that's working out for Ja. Where do you go from here? If Ja is not, like you said, if he's not better than the other guys, you're not building around him. I think it seems pretty clear that Jaren is the guy right now. Where do you go?
You don't, as an NBA team, you don't get to pick a lot of times to have one of the best 10 players in the league. It's like everyone you get dealt your hand. And
except for the Lakers.
You can sometimes be given a Luka Doncic, but most every NBA team, you get dealt a hand. And it turns out like with the Ja Morant, that was a huge success story. And it still is a huge success story for the Grizzlies. A lot of it because basketball is a business and an entertainment product. And Ja Morant still is the entertainment product that is profitable for the Grizzlies. But even if Ja Morant is not going to get back to being like a second team all NBA guy, he's still, I think, an all-star guy. When they have a full healthy squad, he's an all-star guy. And you can build your squad with multiple all-stars, which is what they have. You could try to replicate. You look at a success of the Pacers last season, where it's like Halliburton, for as good as he is, probably isn't one of the 10 best guys. So like there are templates for, we have multiple really good people. The way it gets muddied. So like, I don't think they're moving on from Ja. And I assume, you know, like you said, Isolo very upfront, and he's decided in his life, I'm not going to talk about players behind their back. I'm going to say, hey man, you're really the problem right now. And let's see how Ja Morant handles it. The initial response was poor, apparently, and he got suspended. But like, Ja's a grown adult. He can adapt from this. He can compete. He wants to win basketball games. And I assume he's going to do that. So there's no real rush to be like, well, we have to get rid of him, because first of all, I mean, there's not really a robust market, I don't think, for Ja Morant, but also like most every NBA team, you have to compete at some point with what you have. And I do think having Ja Morant, having Jaren Jackson Jr. is a fine starting point. Where it gets confusing when you look specifically at the Grizzlies right now this season is they just traded away Desmond Bane over the summer. And it felt like before the Desmond Bane trade, they were attempting to replicate maybe what the Celtics did when they won the title, when Jason Tatum was 5th, 6th, 7th, you know, like to win an NBA title without a Jokic or without a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, to win it without an MVP, you just get 7 guys who were really, really good. You find your Drew Holiday and your Porzingis. And it seemed like maybe the model for the Grizzlies was that. We have Ja and Jaren and Desmond Bane, and, you know, we moved on from Dylan Brooks, but if we find just the right other pieces around them, maybe we could be one of the best teams in the West. Well, they decided to go another route, which now has everyone being like, oh, well, you traded Bane, so now trade Ja and trade Jaren and let's start over. And I would not imagine they have any appetite to do anything like that. Also, by the way, they are set up pretty well. Even if they don't do that, they might end up with a couple of first-round picks in the top 10 this year. Maybe their own, maybe the Suns, who knows? So, like, they have some options because of that Desmond Bane trade. So they're in a spot where they're not pressed to make a move. But, I mean, seeing how Ja Morant, if he after this game and this tough week and this upcoming tough schedule, the next 2-3 weeks are very difficult for the Grizzlies. If it goes poorly, and if Ja Morant is like, no, I really hate getting subbed out after 4 minutes and I can't deal with this guy, then I don't know what you do.
Yeah.
You talk about putting pieces around Ja. I mean, yes, Desmond Bane was sent away, but I remember the conversations where Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was supposed to be that replacement. And we know he's been a 40% shooter in the past. And this season, only 34%. He went 0-4 from the floor last night. He's not been able to come in and be that savior on the perimeter. But one thing they did not expect, or maybe they did because they drafted him, Cedric Coward. Goes 3 of 6 from 3, last night, 48% from 3 on the season so far. Really phenomenal young talent for the Grizz. And so maybe it's not, all right, maybe let's not break and blow everything up. We've got some solid pieces, especially when you consider Cedric Coward being a knockdown shooter and really a fearless rookie in the way that he has to step up in a lot of these games that he's had so far this season.
Cedric Coward has been tremendous this year. He absolutely has been a big bright spot. And he does obviously look like the important piece back in the Desmond Bane trade as of right now. They also hope they're going to get more good stuff from all these picks they still have coming. But Cedric Coward has been one of the best rookies in the NBA this season. He seems to be an answer on the wing. He's been coming off the bench right now behind Jalen Wells and KCP. But I know Grizzlies fans are like, guys, he's our third best player. can we just play him all the time now? And so like that from a young guy who barely played D1 basketball, it's incredible. The efficiency, the way he's a solid rebounder.
He's huge.
He has that massive wingspan. He's out there guarding the right guys. He got totally robbed of drawing a charge in the first half against the Pistons.
Oh, yeah.
What was that
awful.
call? No, so like he was the only player on the Grizzlies to draw any offensive fouls in the preseason. So he has that positioning. He draws offensive fouls, but like this guy's legit. He can play. He can get to the basket. He's got again that ideal frame. He even played some 2. They went a little bit bigger in this game against the Pistons because of using Bassey in the rotation. They left Jaren at the 4, and I think Jaren's issues is he's been forced to play 5, which Jaren's been great playing in space, and he's been great playing alongside a really big man. And they haven't really had that this year so far. But they did have a little chance to go a little bit bigger, put Santi the 3, and Cedric Coward played the 2. So yeah, Cedric Coward has been absolutely tremendous for the Grizzlies so far. And some good news, maybe some relief on the way for the Grizzlies. Zach Eady actually practiced with the Memphis Hustle on Monday. So his return could be much closer than people thought. He's supposed to come back, I believe, later in November, but already practicing with the Hustle sounds like maybe he's a little bit ahead of schedule. So now if you have Ja Morant out there and it's Jaren, but you have Cedric Coward and you have Zach Eady, and then KCP can step up, knock down some shots, Jalen Wells, Scottie Pippen Jr., eventually Ty Jerome,
better
then
spacing.
You can start seeing like, hey, this actually is a good competitive team. I mean, they've been in these basketball games. The Raptors lost without Ja Morant. That was a tough loss, but they weren't, I don't think, expected to win. They were underdogs in that game. They got blown out by the Heat, but otherwise they've been doing okay. They're just so shorthanded. There's so much on Ja and Jaren's plate that I do think the defenses are loading up on them. That's why right now none of the numbers are very good. They're struggling to score. They're struggling to defend. It all goes back to what I said earlier. I just think it's talent. You can have the greatest coaching philosophy, but like, if you don't have the
horses win the race.
Yeah, Keith. It's really hard.
The fastest horses win the race.
What if you have the best scheme and also the best players? That's the formula I like. So let's come up with your great ideas, but then also give me the best players, and now let's implement them.
There it is.
There
you
you
solved
go.
basketball, Keith. Guys, go and listen to him if you like the Grizzlies Grits and Grinds, Memphis Grizzlies podcast. Keith Parish, thank you so much for joining the show. Thank you, Zena Keita. I'm Dave DuFour. This has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for waking up with us.